Jay Thomas Show, good afternoon. Welcome to the program on this Thanksgiving Eve. Well, I guess it's that time of the year, huh? We're going to do this thing.
Makes sense. Dean Wysocki standing to your
Oh,
left.
hold on a second. That is awesome. Yeah, you get a rim shot. Ronnie gets the first rim shot of the afternoon. Way to go, buddy. Usually I hand those out to the listeners first. You're on a roll today, Ronnie.
Makes sense. Dean Wysocki standing.
How come I'm hearing
I
feedback?
we get feedback?
I don't know. There's feedback of some kind.
Let's get this. Do we have to bring Addison in here?
The feedback is because Ronnie's joke was so good, we should hear it twice.
Oh. And now I can't play my rim shot, Ronnie. Turn my rim shots off.
That's where the feedback's coming through.
How are we
but,
getting feedback through that? Well, I guess I can't hand that out today.
Another stream is so maybe somebody's got a Facebook live stream or something pulled up on your monitor.
Well,
in there.
yeah, I do because you guys told me to pull it up live.
Well, I think Michael was thinking somebody else pulled that up. Gary's with us, by the way.
Yeah, no kidding. I can see him, Ronnie, in the monitor.
Oh, can you?
We'll get to
Well,
Gary
hello,
here in a
Gary.
second. Just hold on, man.
I know it's not my fault. So
It's always your fault.
But there's a lot of Thanksgiving angst in here. I didn't realize it was going to be quite this contentious.
At some point, I'm going to start giving out Thanksgiving Day birds, if you know what I mean. So everybody's behave, man.
I'll find first.
All right, welcome to it. It's the annual WDAY 970 LRC Winter Outlook. Jay Thomas, my show's been hijacked by this bald dude named Baldy Locks. No, it's Gary Lezak. He is the founder, the inventor of the LRC. He's the god of weather. Also, Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki's here. Ag Director Bridget Readel. And what are we going to do today? Because the cycle's not set. That's the end of this show.
I'll toss that to Gary.
Yeah, we did this. This is the fourth year in a row we're doing this. And I think 3 years ago, we also did it early. And so the pattern is evolving, and it's absolutely fascinating watching the river of air above us settle into whatever it is, that whatever pattern it's going to be. What we've been experiencing for the last month and a half already is the beginning of what we're going to experience for the next year ahead. So it's absolutely fascinating watching it materialize. But the cycle length is important. It's imperative. It allows us to predict when and where everything's going to happen. So the LRC is the centerpiece of the big atmospheric jigsaw puzzle. There are other influences. Right now, we are in that first cycle of the weather pattern. And what has happened? We're going to go over that in the next few hours and discuss what has been happening, what we're expecting. We'll be able to give you a preliminary outlook, and that'll adjust as we go through the next few weeks.
All right. Now, before we get into all this, by the way, if you have weather questions, 701-293-9000. You can email us, studio@WDAYradionow.com. That's our Tyler's Tree Service inbox. All your tree needs, it's tylerscut.com. No job too big, too small. Our studio line, that's our Thor Building studio line, post-frame construction for ag and commercial industry, also for residential as well. So if you need it done right, get a hold of Thad and ThorBuildings.com. They're there start to finish. You can also watch the show today. They've actually allowed the cameras to be turned on my show. That usually does not happen for certain reasons. There's certain reasons why they don't have cameras on when I'm doing my show. But you can go to our YouTube channel. That's WDAY 970 AM. Make sure when you're on there that you subscribe to the channel. Then you know when new stuff happens with us. Just hit that subscribe button. Also, I believe you can watch it on our 970 WDAY Facebook page as well. So, and make sure you follow us on there. All right. Before we get into all this, anybody that's new, and this show gains new listeners every day, right, Dean? It's now identifies as number one in the United States. Is that what I heard?
I believe that's
I think it's number one in North America.
Is that what it is? Uh-huh. Yeah. All right. Gary, will you explain what the LRC is? We do this twice a year. First time I ever experienced it or heard it, I thought you all were a bunch of nuts. Like, what are these banana heads talking about? You can't predict the. Boy, was I wrong. This thing is so accurate, and more people are, I don't want to say jumping on the bandwagon, because it's not really a bandwagon thing. They're getting on board, understanding that, man, this thing really, it really works. So explain what it is. How did you discover it, and what is it?
All right. First of all, great to have you here. Thank you. I have you here, I guess. I don't know. I say that because sometimes you're in Florida broadcasting while we're doing this, you know?
Yeah, that's right. I was
year.
last year. No, two. I was down filming Don Garland's couple of summer or couple. That was the spring outlook, I believe. Yeah, so I'm here today. Dang it.
Hey, let's just live in the now and enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
It's great to see Bridget and Dean and Jay and the whole group. I can't wait to have this discussion with you all. But it's back in 1987. It was 1987 and 1988 where I was beginning my TV career. I had a 38-year TV career, and I left at the top of my game 2 years ago. Coming up in a week, it'll be 2 years that I left, which is amazing. And I haven't looked back to this great TV career I had because I've got something to share with the world that I discovered back in 87 and 88. Introduced it to Dean a few years ago, and it's just amazing. So what happened in 1987, there was in Oklahoma City, a place that does not get snow. Some years they go the whole year without any snow. They average about 8 inches of snow a winter. And there was this 1 foot snowstorm that happened in December. And that was just amazing. It was my second year in my TV career. It was amazing to cover that snowstorm. And then a few weeks later, there was another 1 foot snowstorm. What? They haven't had a 1 foot snowstorm in 30 years, and they get two within 6-7 weeks of each other. It's then that I began to realize the whole weather pattern was cycling, and it was not a coincidence that those two snowstorms were possibly connected. That whole winter was crazy there in 87, 88, not just in Oklahoma City, but through much of the plains and the Corn Belt, and it was impacting. But from 87 to 92, I developed the hypothesis that the weather pattern is cycling, and from 92 to 2002, I started noticing that it was the biggest piece of this puzzle. If you're seeing on your screen right now, the LRC is a centerpiece. There's other factors you may have heard of, La Niña, El Nino. We're going to go over that a little bit later because it's interesting. But the pattern sets up every fall. It cycles, repeats. So if there's a 1 foot snowstorm in Oklahoma City coming up, if there is one in December, there's a better chance this year that will return. It allows us to predict when and where winter storms will happen, when and where tropical storms will develop and track and make landfall, when and where there will be severe weather outbreaks and drought and flood. And for those of you listeners out here for WDAY, 4 years ago, I remember coming on and you were in a drought, and I suggested the drought's likely going to continue. One of your great listeners called in, a farmer up in northern North Dakota, wondered, Gary, it takes thunderstorms just a couple times, timed perfectly, we can make the corn crop. And I said it was unlikely that was going to happen. And it didn't happen. It was a bad year. Then the last 3 years, we've been predicting your planting, growing, and harvest seasons fairly accurately. And so this LRC allows us to provide that information to you. So it got started in 87, 88. You fast forward to now, and we're learning more every year. We've learned a lot. Our accuracy has improved. And
what is your accuracy on this, Gary?
On severe weather outbreaks, 91%.
Wow.
So when we get to February and March, and we now know the pattern, we're in the second or third cycle, we're going to project when severe weather outbreaks, significant severe weather events will set up and occur across the United States. We'll predict about a dozen of them. Last year, we predicted 12 of the setups, and 11 of the 12 happened, which is 91 to 92%. So with hurricanes, it's a little less accurate. However, this year, hurricanes that hit the United States that made landfall, Beryl, Debbie, Francine, Helene, the really bad disaster that came in across the southeastern United States, and then Milton. All 5 predicted weeks to months in advance. So at varying degrees. They didn't form in the exact spot we said they would form, but they did develop within a few days of when we said they would form. How does that relate to agriculture? If we're able to predict severe weather outbreaks, then that could impact your fields. And if we're able to predict hurricanes and winter storms, we can predict week by week when you're going to be having impacting weather or a dry spell where you're going to need more irrigation. And this is where Bridget's going to come in and tell me what she's learned over the last few years.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Bridget, when we first introduced you to the LRC, what I think you said it was
same thing I said.
Unicorns and
dust.
fairy dust.
Yep.
So how has the ag community up here kind of gravitated towards the LRC?
Well, a lot of folks have already started subscribing, using, because they want to use that as a planning tool. We're in December. This is our month of figuring out prepay. So you're buying in your fertilizer. If you have not purchased seed, this is a time you're going to make sure you do your seed purchases before the end of the calendar year for tax purposes. And so if you have to consider, do I need something that has a more drought tolerance? Do I have to consider a shorter growing day variety or a hybrid in order to match what's going to be happening for the season? Folks are thinking about that. In fact, I've already got questions from farmers for Gary today. So when we're ready,
Yeah, I've got two.
some.
So
So whenever we want to get to those, but we know that as an ag community, anytime we can have better, closer, tighter, more accurate forecasting, it's in our best interest.
Great. So the ag community has, kind of and it's not just North Dakota, Minnesota. Gary, you got ag customers all over the U.S. as
Right.
well.
Yeah, the farmers out there, the ag customers are growing nationwide. North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota region is expanding fast. Kansas, Missouri as well, where I did the weather on television. Every farmer should have this dashboard, this tool, this weather vision tool that's easy to purchase and get, and we'll provide some discounts for you today if you'd like. But it gives you a chance to plan. Having this weather tool in your arsenal, you can plan weeks and months ahead of time. As soon as the LRC cycle length is established, as Jay said, it's not yet. So what are we doing here? Well, as soon as it is, the pinpoint accuracy on which weeks will be wet and which weeks will be dry will be quite accurate. Maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, when we finally identify what that cycle is.
all right, let me get to some of these. Let me get to some of these questions here. I know, Bridget, you got them piling up too. Listener wants to know, how do you choose the length of a cycle? Seems like it's subjective, and you can make it up as you go. Of course, it's all science, and it can change all at once.
Good question.
It's a great question, and you can't make it up and as you go, because here's how it works. Let's just use the hurricane season for example. Last year was about a 45 to 46 day cycle. What happens is there are these seeds of what will become tropical storms, what will become severe weather outbreaks, what will become winter storms that are being planted now in the October and November timeframe. And once you identify the cycle length, and I can tell you a little bit of how we do that, but once you do identify that, then, hey, this looks like this is going to be a tropical storm or a hurricane. We call them early indicators and these seeds. And so if you identify one November 1st and it's a 60-day cycle, then January 1st, that part of the pattern is going to return. March 1st, that part of the pattern is going to return. April, May 1st, and then July 1st, July and September 1st. So then if it's a 60-day cycle, you can predict when that seed will blossom and grow into a tropical storm or a hurricane with the accuracy that we just displayed this past year. And in this past year, just let me use that hurricane example again, there's a site called the Barcelona Supercomputing Center. They track universities like the Colorado State University, government agencies like NOAA, and private companies like Weather 2020 and Weather Bell and AccuWeather and others like that. And they track all of us For 3 years in a row now, weather 2020 has been the most accurate hurricane season forecast, and by a lot. We predicted 14 to 19 named storms this year. There were 18. The other guys, like, I guess I could mention Weather Bell, they predicted 25 to 30 named storms, these hyperactive seasons, because they thought La Niña was going to be developing. It did not, and it's not going to, which is another topic. But so it's like the Kansas City Chiefs are going for a three-peat. We just three-peated based on an independent source. So that's where the cycle is set. We don't change it once it's set. We don't change it. I don't make the cycle. The pattern above us is cycling regularly.
All right. Yeah. Another question from a listener named Andy wants to know: are there any signs of the cycle coming to an end?
No. This cycle we're in right now.
Yeah.
We may have started the second cycle of this year's pattern. I'm not sure yet. I was before the show started, I was deeply analyzing the flow in October, compared it to now. There's some hints that we might be starting the second cycle, but there's other indications that we are still in the first cycle of this year's weather pattern. And it's really fascinating watching it come together.
All right, one more, kind of same thing on the cycle. Tom wants to know, how do you know when the cycle or pattern is set? And I think you kind of touched on that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, just like those Oklahoma City snowstorms, this year, you know how dry it was. There was a big concern October 5th, 6th, or 7th when the weather pattern that we're in now likely began. It was very dry across not just the Corn Belt. The Corn Belt was very dry. The East Coast was very dry, and it was warm. Look at that. Before October 10th, if you can see your screen, it was wet in the southeastern United States. That's only because of Hurricane Helene and Debbie, for the most part, and Francine. Those hurricanes came in and produced a lot of precipitation in the southeast. Since then, it has gotten very wet across the southern Corn Belt, out over the winter wheat area, and Colorado and New Mexico. Since October 11th, we're talking 200 to 500% of average precipitation. And now it's extended off into Wisconsin, across Iowa, through Minnesota, and even in the Fargo area. Now you're above average precipitation over the last 45, 46 days. The East Coast has been very dry. And so there are these anchor troughs and ridges setting up right now in the pattern. And it's interesting watching this evolve, but things flipped right as we got to mid-October.
All right, 226, got a question, comment, 701-293-9000. The email is studio@WDAYradionow.com. It is our LRC Winter Outlook brought to you by Copperhead Electric, Jiffy Lube, North Star Ag, also Foltz Buildings, and Welton Tire Service. All right, I've caught up on my emails. Bridget, you said you've got some rolling. Yeah, let's see if we can get a couple in here before bottom of the hour news and weather.
All right, so if I can continue on, I've got a question for you, Gary. And this comes from one of our farmers, Randy. He said, how does this cycle rank in length compared to past years?
Yeah, this one we don't know yet, but we don't know what the cycle length is yet. And we keep that sort of proprietary to us, but I'm telling you right now, we don't know what it is at this point. Last year was 41 to 48 days, centered on 45 to 46 days. The year before that was around 51 days. The year before that was 63 to 64 days. So cycle lengths can vary from the 30s to the 70s. Most of them are in their 40s, in the 50s cycle length. But once it's established, when it's about a 45-day cycle like last year, that pattern continues all the way through September. And that's how the LRC patent pending model works, and allows you to have some data that is actually accurate 30 days, 60 days, 150, 200 days into the future. It's more accurate than the 10-day is that you might see on your weather app on your phone.
How often do you actually see a cycle that's 70 days in length or plus? Because I know you've gone back and done this historically. How often does that show up?
The 74 to 75, 76 day cycle was back in 2004, 2005, when Hurricane Katrina, Hurricanes Rita that year, Dennis, big, huge, massive hurricane season. That was a hyperactive season back then. And we can see tropical systems follow that cycle as well. But Bridget, that's the only time that it was in the 70s. 63, 64 a couple years ago, that's the second highest one I've ever seen. There was one as low as 34 to 38 days, but otherwise it's in the 40s and 50s.
All right, let me do this. It's 2:30. I got into the phones too, so let's do a quick news and weather break here. Then when we come back, I know, Bridget, you got more questions, more emails. We got Brian that's been waiting on the phones. Brian, you'll be first on the phones. 701-293-9000. The email, it's studio@WDAYradionow.com. Jay Thomas Show on a Thanksgiving Eve, and we are doing our biannual, I should say, because we do this twice a year, our LRC Winter Outlook with Gary Lezak. He is the CEO of Weather 2020 and the founder of the LRC. And it's brought to you by Copperhead Electric, Jiffy Lube, Foltz Buildings, Welton Tire Service, and North Star Ag. More with Gary and our Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, Ag Director Bridget, Readel, myself, Jay Thomas, when we come back on 970 WDAY 93.1 FM. Also, you can watch this live on our YouTube channel or on our Facebook page. Please tell me that Dean is not picking out bumper music on my show.
No,
What is this?
This is all the instrumental stuff we must use due to various
that's
copyright
right.
streaming.
Yeah, I don't want to get YouTube channels shut down. We know all about that, don't I?
Yeah, this is me learning how to play guitar. So
It sounds like it.
For the next set of bumper music, you just want me to hum?
Please.
Okay,
This
got
would be
it.
better than what I
I'll do
just
that.
heard.
Great.
Jay Thomas Show, welcome to it. It is our biannual LRC lookout special. We do one for the winter. We do one for the spring. And this is when we bring in Weather 2020 CEO. That's weather2020.com CEO. Also founder of the LRC, Gary Lezak, sitting in his cushy digs in his castle somewhere in a secret place.
I'm in Golden, Colorado, where it snowed 2.5 inches today.
Ooh.
Sounds cushy.
Yeah. Also with us, Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, also Ag Director Bridget Readel's here. Your phone calls, your emails, you can call us 701-293-9000. You can also email us studio at WDAYradionow.com. I'd like to thank the sponsors of today's special. That's Copperhead Electric, also Jiffy Lube, Foltz Buildings, Welton Tire Service, and North Star Ag. And let's get to the phones. Poor Brian's been waiting on hold so long. Spring is here. Hey, Brian, you're up on a Jay Thomas Show. What's up, brother?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, guys.
Yep.
Hey, my question is, when you came up with this theory of cycles, how far back in history did you go to research this? And did it shock you when you discovered about how they could have predicted all these things, maybe like major hurricanes, major snowstorms, and things like that?
That's a great question.
That's a great question, Brian.
Yeah, Brian.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We do have one peer-reviewed paper that's published out there called The Cycling Patterns of the Northern Hemisphere. And when I was looking into that, I went back into the history back in the 1940s and 1930s and 40s, and even back to when the jet stream was discovered back in World War I to World War II. But in the 1940s, there was this famous meteorologist. His name is Jerome Niña. You can look him up. Jerome Niña. I even read a whole bio on him recently. But he was the head of the long-range forecast division at the Weather Bureau, which is now the National Weather Service. And in the 1940s and 50s, he was somewhat similar to what I discovered, finding some interesting patterns. And he, in one of his papers called The Index Cycle, talked about how by November, there's enough information each fall to predict somewhat accurately the winter ahead. Okay, and then he said the cycle sets up for weeks at a time. So those are two of the four core principles of what I came up independently. So when I went back and saw that he had that, the one thing he didn't realize, and then with computer technology advancing in the 60s and 70s, there's Jerome Niña right there. How about that? In the 60s and 70s, he might have gotten a little lost with the computer advancements, but he never realized that the index cycle that lasts weeks at a time also cycled over and over again. The whole 45 days, whatever it is going to be this year, we'll see what it is, cycles as well. So that's predictable. But yeah, so I went back into the 1940s, the 30s and the 50s, and learned a lot more. But I had already found this independently before I did all that research.
Brian, appreciate the phone call, 701-293-9000. See, man, Gary's no fly-by-night guy, man. He gets it done, dude. He gets it done. Hey, John, you're up on the Jay Thomas Show.
Hey, I got a weather question for December. I've got a deep sea fishing trip off the coast of Galveston, Texas, December 11th through the 15th. Am I going to hit any big, bad storms?
The pattern isn't set yet. But we can look based on right now. I'm looking at the data that goes out to about the 13th of December. There's a major storm forming across the plains on the 12th and 13th. I know that's 15, 16 days away, but if the cycle's setting up like I think it is, that's going to fit the pattern. There's going to be a big storm around the 13th, 14th. So if you're wondering about the 11th to the 15th, just know we are going to be due to have a big storm south over the southern and central plains. So Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Wisconsin could be the biggest impacts, but there could be some snow across the Dakotas and Minnesota as well.
But I should be good for no big Gulf of Mexico.
Dude, I'd be more concerned. I'd be asking him, hey, am I going to catch any big fish?
I know. Exactly.
Can I go, though? I don't want some big tropical storm to be hitting the coast of Texas that week.
No,
not in December.
You're going down to Texas? Is that where you're going?
Yeah.
Okay, so if this is the case, then I'm sorry I didn't realize that. But Brian, I mean, if this is the case, yes, it's going to be pretty mild down there during that stretch. So it should be ideal fishing, conditions. So catch a big one.
There you go, John. Ideal fishing conditions. 701-293-9000 WDAY time now 2:47. That's a Zeus sales and rental time check. Feel the power, Zeus, 2 locations, Hollywood Lumber Company, Highway 10 Holly, and 12th Avenue North here in Fargo. You contractors, you don't need to go out and buy that big piece of equipment. You can rent it from Zeus. They'll even deliver it to you, and they'll come pick it up. All right, Bridget, you got more emails, questions?
There was one, and that is, did we hear right? Did Gary say no La Niña this year?
Yes, that's a good one. Let's get into that. And La Niña is the cooling of the tropical Pacific Ocean. And the model that predicts that, one of them is called the CFSV2 model, a climate model that goes out very long range, like the LRC, but it gets lost because it's a physics-based model and it's way off. But it, back in January and February, threw all those other hurricane forecasts off because they all thought it was going to be a La Niña by now, a strong La Niña by now. But La Niña is not developing. The temperature as of this week was actually near zero. In other words, not above normal or below normal in the tropical waters. So that's a neutral season that is on the way. It may get cooler, but for it to be called a La Niña, you have to have 5 3-month periods of La Niña conditions, and we're not going to have that. So it's going to end up being a neutral winter. And I'm already seeing precipitation patterns. This is good news, very good news for the Dakotas and the Northern Plains and for the Corn Belt to not have a La Niña. I'm telling you, the precipitation patterns will shift west, right, Dean?
Yeah, that's when we have La Niña, it's a colder, typically, not always, colder than normal winter, but also dry, and that bleeds into spring and summer. So yeah, like Gary said, when we don't have a La Niña, that's usually good news. At least for, I know it might not be good news for for travelers, because you're more than likely going to have a little more precip, but it's great news for our ag community, where we shouldn't have to worry about going into drought conditions.
Well, we can.
It should be good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
go on, Bridget.
for me, I always look at drought as, how bad is it? Because a little bit of dry is a whole lot better than oversaturation. And I don't think we're at a point yet where we can talk about how much moisture we're going to see. But we've had the last 2 years, we've had drier summers than the average, which I tell Dean 30 years is not an average. That's just barely starting. And when you look at that 30 years, we were 2 years much drier, and we had way better corn crops because, again, not as much oversaturation, much less.
Right. And Jay, I gotta mention, we do have a product. I'm not really a sales guy, although we'd love you to follow what we're doing, but it's the BFD. The big.
Wait, you want me to define that?
Deal.
Wait.
Careful.
On the farm, that acronym means a whole different thing. Yeah.
So you can get the big forecasting deal, the BFD, but just go to Weather 2020 farmers.com/WDAY. We have a special just for you out here, WDAY listeners. 50% off. It's $300 a year, but right now we're going to discount that to $150 a year. And I know if there's any farmers out there, if you could just call in and tell us what you've experienced with this weather intelligence report. I publish it every Tuesday. We provide some of our model data and really bring you confidence as this weather pattern evolves and sets in. So just go to that and become a member. It's a lot of people when after about a year of following us, the farmers out there are like, oh my gosh, so much for the Farmer's Almanac.
Yeah.
The LRC is the smart.
Well,
Farmer's
what's more
Almanac.
important as far as right now is if you're going to run a special, and I could make up another acronym to go with yours, but anyway.
Sure, yeah. For you farmers out there, they also have the Friday, Black Friday special. It's called the BFH, and I think you all know what that is, what that tool is.
Now, if
Hang on, callers.
farmers are going to buy, now is a great time to do it because we're wrapping up end of year. So many of you are getting ready to go to your tax man and or perhaps people. And if you are doing that, this is a write-off. So start. This is a tool of benefit to your farm. It's a write-off for farmers.
All right, let me grab Craig. Craig, you're up on a Jay Thomas show.
Yes, hi. We are leaving for Hawaii on the 17th from Minneapolis, coming back the 27th. What's our weather outlook for that? Thank you, by the way.
And I'm guessing December?
December?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, December.
Well, let me look at the global predictor. And by the way, we have a deal on that too, a Black Friday discount on that too. We'll tell you about later. In the third hour, we'll talk about it. The global predictor is a consumer product. If you just go to Weather 2020 and click on the global predictor, you'll see it. So let me log in and look at December 17th to 27th and what it shows right now. Because it's got the whole world. You can even click on Antarctica and get your forecast there for the next 6 months. But here, let me call it up. Let me just see here.
You said you're out of Minneapolis, Craig?
Yeah.
Yes, we're flying out of Minneapolis, but I don't want to go to Antarctica.
Okay, well, have fun, pal.
The model shows the return of the warmer part of the pattern. So I'm looking at December 17th to 27th, and it's color coded, so it's all a little bit above average on temperatures, mostly in the low 30s to mid 30s for high temperatures.
Wow.
And the lows are also about in the 20s. And see, it does have snow on the 12th, 13th, and 14th, but 17th to the 27th actually has some rain on the 17th and 18th, believe it or not. So that's how warm it gets. So, but that could be freezing rain or a rather moist snow. But but 22nd to the 28th, Christmas week is dry in Minneapolis based on the latest data.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to I would like to find out how to sign up for this LRC for sure.
Wow.
There you
Just,
go.
yeah, go to weather2020.com/WDAY, and Gary's running 50% off right now.
Oh, and by the way, you can just email Dean weather@flagfamily.com, and he will send you that link.
You can do that too.
Also look for that big blanket hammer deal, too, if you're a farmer. Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it. 254. Email says, how cool, because I was looking at booking a tour to Antarctica.
Well, who wasn't? We were all
Exactly.
looking.
I'll give you the forecast.
That's on everybody's Christmas list.
Email
Come on.
says, I love hearing the LRC outlook. My question is, what is Wysocki still doing their past 2:30? Are all the bars closed today? Yeah. My rim shot's back.
Oh, man, when your customers know you so well.
Yeah, Wysocki. Hey, Gary Wysocki. All I've heard from Wysocki off the air. Did we really do 3 hours last year? Did we? He wants out of here so bad at 4 o'clock. Buddy, if I'm here, you're here.
Who sent that
He's
email?
like, do we have to do that third hour?
Yeah, you're here. We're all here. You're here, pal.
Yep.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
We got a question from Andy online. Andy asks, are there any signs of the cycle coming to an end?
We
And
already
we
addressed
touched
that, yeah.
You did
That
hit
was
that
his,
question
yeah,
earlier?
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Well, the other thing, too, is there's people out there that are looking to see how the paying model performs. I can tell you that as the fire chief and basically someone who's in charge
not a
of
fire chief.
No, my brother is. But he does the snow plowing, et cetera, for City of Kindred, et cetera. They subscribed to the LRC to try and find out when snowstorms and other things they really need to know about for city plowing, et cetera, to plan that out better. And he swears by it. He says it works well for him.
It does. Andy just sent in another question. He said, so you're expecting it to be wet here in North Dakota since it's been dry all fall up until last week's storm. And again, we're still in that first cycle. And Gary and I were talking about this this morning is, I'm seeing signs and another colleague was seeing signs of the cycle being set here hopefully within the next 2 weeks, if it hasn't been already. And these are some of the things that we have to go over. Now, keep in mind the first half of this cycle, actually a little more than the first half of the cycle, if you remember how dry October was.
Oh, yeah, it was crazy.
But the second half of the cycle here so far has been well above normal in terms of precip. So if you average, Andy, if you average both of those out, we're going to go through dry stretches of the cycle. Now, part of the dry part of the cycle in the first part of the cycle, it was when we had the big ridge over the area, and we had clipper systems going off to our north and east. Now, as winter goes on, that jet stream will sag a little further south and west. So the clipper systems that hit, let's say, the Great Lakes for the first half of that cycle have a better chance of hitting our area. So I guess short answer is...
Yeah, can we get... Yeah, what is the short answer?
Is more than likely we will see precip, and check me if I'm wrong, Gary, at or a little bit above normal for the northern plains, it looks like. We're going to go through dry stretches, but I think overall...
Hey, Gary, my prediction, by the way, for this year's snowfall is 22 inches.
Yeah,
That's what I'm at. 22.
22?
22.
Yeah.
Y'all laughed at me last year when I said 16 inches, didn't you?
We did.
Yeah,
you
that was
got
pretty
3,
much dead
so
on.
You're right there.
There was 3 when I made that prediction last year, too.
Yeah, so you're right there.
I'm right on the money,
What
baby.
was the total last year?
17 and a half.
That's it?
That's it.
And I said 16 inches. Y'all laughed at me.
Wow.
It's like that line
That's
out of the
only,
movie Carrie. They're all going to laugh at you. Yeah.
And I
You're
also-
laughing now?
Yeah.
But I like the idea that once this cycle's set, we're going to need to see that calendar, because when you have those dry stretches, folks need to be delivering grain for contracts. They want to be cleaning out bins, moving stuff without ice on the roads.
I need to be out working on stuff in my backyard. I need those dry stretches. I don't want to do it all spring and summer.
How can you not have your backyard done already?
It's never done.
Okay.
Come on, you've met Alex.
Oh, my.
Come on.
My. Okay.
All right.
And as Dean said, there's a dry half to the cycle and a wetter half. It's really likely going to average out near average. That's the way it's looking right now. But let's get through this first cycle into the second cycle, and we'll keep you updated. But for North Dakota, it's below average out west and near to above average out east.
Okay, let me. It's top of the hour, so let's do some news, and then we'll come back. More emails, more your phone calls. It's our LRC special on 970 WDAY. Joining us, Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, also Ag Director Bridget Readel. They've hijacked my show today. I love it because I love this weather stuff. Also, Gary Lezak, he is the CEO of weather2020.com and also the founder of the LRC. You got a question? 701-293-9000. Or you can email us studio at WDAYradionow.com. You can also watch today's show live. They actually had the courage to turn the cameras on during my show today, so you can watch it live on our YouTube channel, WDAY YouTube channel, or on our Facebook page as well. Brought to you by Copperhead Electric, Jiffy Lube, Foltz Buildings, Welton's Tire Service, and North Star Ag. More of our LRC Winter Outlook special when we come back on a Jay Thomas Show on 970 WDAY 93.1 FM and worldwide with our app. Breaking news coming in. This just out. Australian Broadcasting Corporation's big boss, Kim Williams, has just launched an unhinged tirade against Joe Rogan.
I was just,
Dude, what are you thinking?
I was just reading the article.
What are you doing, you moron? Are you kidding me? Joe will crush you into a fine powder. Him and his 20 million followers. Good Lord. It's 10 minutes after 3 o'clock. Jay Thomas Show, hour number 2. Welcome to it. It's the LRC Winter Outlook Special for 2024/2025. And CEO of weather2020.com, our buddy, our pal, Gary Lezak, hanging out with us. He's also the founder of the world-famous LRC. Also joining us. And Roddy, why do you need to break this man's heart all the time? Wysocki? You're playing the recorded weather. The guy's sitting right here. Now he's in tears. He doesn't feel like he's worthy to do it live on this program.
Well, much like you might expect, I have an educated response for this. That pinpoint forecast allows him to spend more time divulging into what is the LRC.
See, he's got a good answer for everything, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's the wrong one.
I thought it was live. See, I thought it was live.
No, you didn't. Come on. What are you doing?
I thought it was live.
What are you doing?
I was like, wow, Dean's doing this in the break.
Ag Director Bridget Readel's here just shaking her head. I go, why?
Right.
Why am I stuck with these clowns?
Just gonna hang out here for a while.
I'm not believing that's tea in the cup either, Bridget. And I don't blame you.
It's the day before Thanksgiving. I can do whatever I have to do to cope through this cold.
Cold? I thought you were going to say family. 701-293-9000. If you've got a question, comment for anybody here on the panel, you can give us a call, or you can email us studio@wdayradio.com. You can also watch the today's show on our YouTube channel, 970 WDAY, or our Facebook page, 970 WDAY. Brought to you by Copperhead Electric. Also, Jiffy Lube, Foltz Buildings, Welton's Tire Service, and North Star Ag. Let me get into some of these emails. Let's see. Let me. We all know who this is. Gary, will we have a 3-inch snowfall here in Fargo in December? That's Mr. Snowblower, man.
Yes, you'll have one.
Okay, there. You'll get your damn snowblower, okay?
Just one.
Because if you get 3 inches, they make a lot of money. You know, if you get, they don't want a 28-inch snowstorm. They want 5 3-inchers.
Here's a email from a farmer. Says, "Hey guys, I missed some of the details. Pretty loud in the shop today. Can you please repeat the subscription details?"
Right. Okay. The website is weather2020.com/WDAY. If you see on your screen, you can just scan that code in. But weather2020.com/WDAY, and then you'll see the discount button to click. Click on that. You get 50% off. It's a whole year. That's 50 cents per day. So you can afford it, 50 cents per day. And what you'll get from this, you'll see our insights. It'll be me writing it every week, once to twice a week during the tropical season. I do a tropical update as well. And it'll keep you informed. And what will happen in that year, you will gradually gain confidence in this is actually real. So I want to ask Jay Thomas a question. Jay, you've been following this with us for 3 or 4 years, right?
Yes, I have.
So have you bumped into people out in the audience?
Constantly.
Do people talk about this now? I mean, is this?
Yeah.
How's it going with it?
I would say 90% of the people that I run into are, they're 100% on board with the LRC. They're just amazed by it. You get that 10% skeptics, and that's, that's a pretty good average if you're yanking 90%. I'm telling you, if you're a farmer out there, you depend on the weather, man, you'd be foolish not to get, and I'm not here selling it. I get Gary's a tightwad. He doesn't give me any percentage of the sales or anything like that. but I actually was talking off the air. I'm gonna talk to the powers to be for the TV show, and I'm thinking this is maybe something we should subscribe, because we depend on the weather when we're filming.
Oh, for rides,
especially if we get on a plane and we're spending thousands of dollars to go somewhere to film vehicles, because part of that is you want to be able to be outside, take the cars out, fly the drone. And I'm thinking, for this price, I mean, when we're scheduling, whether we're in Arizona, Nevada, wherever we go, we can look at this and go, okay, yeah, it looks like we're going to have pretty good weather. So, yeah, let's get on a plane and go and do this thing. And I believe, Bridget, you said it's a tax write-off if you're using it for business?
Sure it is, because as farmers, or even if you're running a snow removal business, et cetera, those are tools that you are using for a subscription, et cetera. They're things that you can use in your business and write them off.
Snow removal business, great call on that. Yeah, I mean, you can decide, okay, it looks like I need to make sure I got enough staff here because we're gonna be plowing.
To be perfectly honest, I've had this discussion with labor and delivery nurses at hospitals, because when you have a big change with a snowstorm with pressure systems, actually that tends to induce labor. And so it's a way to think about staffing as well.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me, the emails are starting to roll in again. Let me grab Nick here on the phone. Nick, you're up, Jay Thomas Show.
Hey, Jay,
Hey.
Bridget, and Gary, and Dean. Thank you. I have been waiting for this show forever. But I got a question for Gary. Why are we always focusing on the October 6th area, the fall, whatever they do, the solstice or whatever? Why aren't we doing this in quarters, like the longest night in December, doing this just like once a year, or the longest day of June? Yeah, I'm kind of curious.
Nick, you're cutting out real bad. Hold
You're
on.
breaking up.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, I understand what he said.
Oh,
I
you did?
think I know
Okay.
what he's asking, Joe.
Okay. All right.
I
Go
think I
ahead.
know what he's asking. So it's Dick, right? So listen here. Nick, is it? Nick?
Yeah, Nick.
Nick. So Nick. So here, Nick, here's what we theorize, okay? I believe that there are likely astronomical forcings to what sets up the cycle. What happens on September the 23rd, the sun sets at the North Pole. Even meteorologists don't know this. It's a fact. The sun sets at the North Pole once a year, and that's on September the 23rd on the autumnal equinox. In North Dakota, it might be twilight for an hour tonight, half hour tonight when the sun sets. And at the North Pole, twilight lasts 12 days. So the sun sets, goes beyond the horizon, and it finally turns dark around October 5th, 6th, or 7th. October 5th, 6th, or 7th, every year, after 50 years of looking through 50 years of analysis and data, each year we can identify around October 5th, 6th, and 7th as the day one of the weather pattern for the next year ahead. So it would be an awful big coincidence. And there's a big energy transfer when the sun sets at the North Pole and it goes dark. And that energy transfer is likely spreading south from the poles down to the equator, and the pattern evolves and becomes set. Next October, next September, it sets again. Same thing in the southern hemisphere. The sun sets at the South Pole on the spring equinox. So that's likely when the southern hemisphere LRC sets up. And there's probably some interaction there. But that's where October 5th, 6th, and 7th comes in.
Does that help you, Nick?
Yes. No, I was just curious. And then I was kind of curious about the longest day and night of the year, like the July and the December.
Yeah, well, that happens near the first day of winter and near the summer solstice as well. The shortest day of the year, shortest daylight of the year, because the days are all exactly the same. Remember, it's always 24 hours long as a day. But the daylight is shortest right around the first day of winter and longest on the first day of summer. But that has not shown any indication that it impacts the cycling pattern.
All right, let's get to some of these emails. First one, Gary, with your Global Predictor app, how accurate are your predictions with the cycle not set?
Not very accurate. Okay? Who's going to make up something that's not very accurate for a little while? In about a week or two, it's going to become much more accurate because we'll be able to put that cycle data in. It's got algorithms that we adjust as well. So we're about a week or two away from identifying the cycle, and then that modeling will then impact the global predictor. And if you go to weather2020.com, just go to weather2020.com, you'll see the global predictor button up top. All right. Here's another BFD, big forecasting deal. All right, you can get.
So be careful with that.
I know, man. I sweat every time Gary does
I have
that.
to really think hard. The big forecasting deal is available today, and it's $5.99 a month. But the deal, if you go in there and you get it through the website, it's only $25, $24.99 for the entire year.
Wow.
And you'll get forecasts anywhere in the world for 6 months ahead. Get it on your website, get it on our website for that deal. And then you go to the app stores, download the app later, and then you'll be able to use the same login that you make on the website in the app.
Let's see. I ran into Dean at a Bison tailgating. Imagine that. A while back and told him I love the LRC. I've been fascinated with weather my whole life, so this is awesome. I tell everyone about it, given my expertise in weather, which is none. Thinking we're still in the first cycle, given how warm and dry the beginning of the first cycle was. I'm guessing about a 63-day cycle this time around. But this guy's really following
Who's
stuff.
what's his name?
Um,
Does he give his name?
Steve? Yeah, Steve.
Steve?
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for
Steve.
all of this. Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody. Yep, Steve.
Happy Thanksgiving, Steve.
I've got an email in my inbox here, Jay. Listener said, and this kind of goes with Bridget, that we had a dense fog in the area November 14th and 15th, so about a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Is it true that 90 days following this dense fog, we can expect a major storm in the area? And I think that's a folklore for the farming
It's
for our
always
ag
been
community,
that.
right?
Yes.
Really? I've never heard this.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That is one that farmers stand by, and they say if from fog, you count 90 days out, and you're going to have a heavy precipitation. So if it would be snow in the winter, rain in the summer.
See, I've
So
always
that would be
heard
the middle of February then. If it's 90 days from the middle of November, right around the middle of so let mark the calendar.
Yeah,
Let's see
all
what happens around the middle of
Yeah,
February.
I've always-
Can I tell you? Can I tell you how an LRC connection to that folklore?
Yeah.
Can I tell you that? So what happened way back in the day? Farmers came up with these folklores because they experienced it. They were experiencing the LRC. So if it was a 45-day cycle that year, and there was fog, then what caused the situation to create the fog, if whatever the weather pattern was, will return, and 45 days or 90 days later, it would likely manifest itself into a storm system. So there's some truth to that, but that would have to be a 45-day cycle. It might not always be 90 days. Maybe it's 98 days because it's a 49-day cycle, or 102 days because it's a 51-day cycle. But over all the years, the farmer goes, wow, that was about 90 days ago that we had that fog.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some truth to it.
Well, I've the one I've always heard was first. I think it's the first crack of summer or the first crack of thunder you hear, whether it's spring or summer. 6 months from that point will be your first frost. I've heard that.
I've
that
not
one
heard
for,
that one.
for
I
years.
haven't
Yeah,
heard
I heard
that
that one. Yeah. You count 6 months and you're gonna get your first frost.
Oh.
So there you go. All right, let me get back to
What
some
would
more
be
of this.
considered? What would be considered the first thunder?
Well, the first thunder you hear, whether it's spring, whenever you hear
Really?
it, they say
6 months
6
later?
months from that first time you hear thunder, the first official thunder, you're going to get your first frost. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what the old farmer.
Well, if we have
I'm kidding.
if we have thunder or snow in the winter, we're in trouble.
Well, you got big problems then, yeah. Emails, why does the LRC show always feel like an infomercial? Well, because nobody rides for free, Jeff. I believe the LRC is quite accurate, but why would we want to pay? I don't have to pay for weather forecast from NOAA. NOAA isn't going to give you accurate forecasting
7 months
out,
yeah.
man.
That's why.
Let's see.
And we don't want to turn it into an infomercial, but it is supporting this technology, just so you know that.
Wow.
Okay, it's like we want to share this technology with you, and then you get to have that forecasting expertise in your arsenal. So that's why it sounds like that.
And Gary even said, when he first introduced me to this, that listen, the goal and Gary's goal and I think all of our goals is to get this into the university, to get this LRC method taught in the universities, because the more and better information we can get out to the public years down the road about weather forecasting, this will save government, whatever industry you're in that's weather sensitive, it'll save you millions. So I mean, that's the goal, is to get the word out and eventually get this taught in universities where every meteorologist will have this in their tool belt years down the road.
Like I said, I'm 99% sure we're gonna grab this for rides. I mean, like I said, because there's a lot of money riding on that when you got to load up equipment, get on a plane, go somewhere, to be able to look and go, "Oof, man, we're looking at coming down this week to film 5-6 vehicles. It looks like it's going to be rain the whole time." No,
let's push it off. Yeah.
Let's come. Yeah, exactly. It's definitely worth it. Email says, "Hey guys, I do the fog thing. 90 days from fog." Equals precipitation. My mother-in-law always had it on her calendar, and now I do it too. I've never heard this before.
Oh yeah, I've seen it all the time.
Have you tried it? I mean, Bridge, have you?
I've had folks that have marked that and come back and said there's accuracy to it, probably more in that 50 to 60%. But there is some accuracy to it. That one and the other farmer calendar is the onion. Where you peel the onion and lay out 12 layers and watch for the moisture.
Okay, that one I haven't heard. All right. Jay asked Gary, when are we getting the big one? Talking about the big snowstorm.
Once the weather pattern is set, and we'll be able to go back and look at the seeds, and if we look at each system, each storm system, like I'm looking right now at October, from when the pattern began, it was so dry. There was, one system went just north of Minnesota in North Dakota on October 6th, right at the beginning. That's a seed for what may come back. Now I'm looking for the next one. This is why it was so dry in October. There weren't many systems at all across your area up there. And then here comes one. On October 18th and 19th and 20th, there was a big upper level low. It produced 9 inches of rain in New Mexico, which is rare for that. But that lifted north towards you guys. So that's a possible seed. So we look at these systems over, let's say it's a 50-day cycle. Where were the systems? And then we are able to project when they are going to return. The weather pattern will return as predicted. Now, it doesn't mean this forecast will be perfect. If we know there's going to be a storm approaching North Dakota, what is the forecast for Fargo, for Bismarck? Okay, what is the forecast in Minot or in Sioux Falls or Minneapolis? So we'll make forecasts based on where that storm is likely going to be, and we'll be pretty accurate because the storm is going to be there 90 to 99%, maybe close to 100%. The storm will be there, but predicting the weather for every location is still challenging.
All right, WDAY time right now is 3:28. We got to do the closing markets, and then more of our LRC Winter Outlook special. CEO of Weather2020.com and founder of the LRC, Gary Lezak, with us. By the way, we'll do this again in the spring. You got a question or comment, 701-293-9000. Email studio@WDAYradionow.com. Want to thank our sponsors, Copperhead Electric, Jiffy Lube, Foltz Buildings, Welton's Tire Service, North Star Ag. Also with us this afternoon, Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Ag Director Bridget Readel. Ronnie in there pushing buttons, answering phones, and Michael's in there doing all the video for us. And you can actually watch today's show on our YouTube channel, WDAY, 970 WDAY. Same thing on our Facebook page. All right, when we come back, more of the LRC special, more of your calls, more of your emails. Again, 701-293-9000. Email studio@WDAYradionow.com. Jay Thomas Show. No, the Bison are what? Are they off this week?
Yeah, December 7th is their first round game. They face the winner of Abilene Christian and Northern Arizona, which happens this weekend.
Okay. All right. So December. So a week from this weekend then. Mm-hmm. All right.
Got my tickets, got my parking passes. Hello, tailgating.
There were many of us that thought that may not be the case after the last-second loss at USD, but,
hey,
the football gods smiled.
Yeah,
so.
Before we get back to it, our LRC Winter Outlook Special, just a couple things here. If you've been following the story, Bonnie Amistati's morning partner, Bonnie from Jace Denham had a back in October, had a widowmaker heart attack, and he survived it. We just found out just moments ago that he was on the heart transplant list. They found a heart. Usually that takes for a long time, forever. Mm-hmm. He is got his new heart in. It's sewn in.
Yep. That's awesome.
Isn't that crazy? Absolutely nuts. And he was such a perfect candidate that they were able to turn down hearts because they weren't perfect enough.
Wow.
So his new heart is in. He's sewn up. It's in. So our prayers continue. But we have a big fundraiser because there's a lot of expenses that go with this. The traveling. It's crazy. I mean, you can have the world's greatest insurance, and it's just not going to cover. I mean, this is going to be a long road to recovery. So we are having a fundraiser for Jace. It's this Sunday from 4 to 8 p.m. at the Moorhead American Legion. We're doing a spaghetti feed from 4 to 8. It's a free will donation. We'll have a bake sale going on as well. We have a silent auction, and the items on a silent auction are just over the top. I mean, crazy what we have gotten. One of them I just found out today, if I heard right, we have a UND Fighting Hawks hockey jersey signed, I believe, by the entire team.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
We have a Trump, the 45-47 baseball cap signed by Trump, and that comes with the pen that he used to sign it. That's on the auction block. There's just tons of stuff that we're auctioning off, a lot of sports stuff. And it's just... the items are really, really. It's amazing. It's amazing what people donated. So that'll be again this Sunday, from 4 to 8 at the Moorhead American Legion.
Yeah, if you got a sweet tooth, there's going to be a ton of baked goods there for sale too.
For the bake sale, yeah. Plus, we'll have Jace T-shirts available for sale too, $20, and that's going to go to the family as well. So we hope to see you out there. All right, our LRC Winter Outlook Special. Hanging out with he's the CEO of Weather2020.com, the founder of the LRC, Gary Lezak, kicking back, hanging out with us. We do this twice a year, once in the winter, once in the spring. Also with us is Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, Ag Director Bridget Readel. Phone calls coming in. We'll get to them. We'll get to the emails. Want to thank Copperhead Electric, Jiffy Lube, also Foltz Buildings, Welton's Tire Service, and North Star Ag for sponsoring this year's winter LRC Outlook. And with that said, let me slip some of these emails in, and then we'll get back to the calls. And Bridget, how are you sitting on emails over there?
So far, there's a few things that have come in. Folks have asked, the validity of using it when it comes to their farming practices. Just remember, as we think ahead over a 12-month cycle, because you will be able to hear this in the spring as well as the winter like we're doing right now. How can this be a part of your planting and seeding plans if you're picking your varieties and hybrids? Okay. What does harvest look like, especially if you do custom work? Where are there windows that you can get in and be using it? If you want to talk about irrigation, if you need to be getting permits, your crop insurance, just a few of the places that will be using this for those who farm or work in agribusiness.
Okay. Emails. I find the LRC talk very interesting, and I've followed for over a year now. Gary, good job with what you have done. My question and comment is you host this LRC special, but then have no weather forecast or outlook to give because the cycle's not set. Why on earth did you just not postpone this for a week or so or until the new cycle was actually set to give us a weather special?
Because I asked Jay and Dean, can we do it in the first week of December? They said, no, we're going to do it before Thanksgiving. So it's not my fault.
Yeah,
Don't blame me.
That's I'll take blame. I'll take blame for that.
Thank you.
Was hoping the cycle would be set by now. And hey,
But you can still give, somewhat of a forecast.
we can still give a good idea.
Yeah.
In fact, Andy messaged us online, and he said, so it looks like a pretty active weather pattern with snow. I love people that follow the weather this close. It looks like a pretty active weather pattern with snow coming from Canada next week with a bunch of clippers. Is this the precipitation that stayed north of us early in the fall that I was talking about because the jet stream had not dropped south yet? If so, does that mean we have the cycle set? Not necessarily, but that's what Gary said. We're seeing signs of if the cycle isn't set, we're close to it.
Mm-hmm.
We're close to it. If a very similar pattern that we had in October appears to be setting up next week. Another question was the 19th and 20th of this month. That's what we'll call one of the signature storms in the LRC cycle. We picked up almost 1.5 inches of rain, and then 3 inches of snow with a blizzard in the north central part of the state. That was on the 19th and 20th. That was the big one that hit us in this first cycle. So extrapolate those dates out. However, when we find out what the cycle length is, that storm system, it may affect us differently. Instead of 1.5 inches of rain, maybe we'll get a big ice storm out of this. Maybe we'll be on the colder side of it where we get the blizzard conditions.
And when is this?
Well, it hit the 19th and 20th of this month last week. So let's just throw 50 days. We don't know the cycle length, but let's say it's 50 days. So that would be 50 days from November 19th and 20th. That would put us in the second week in January.
Okay. All right.
That we would see a precip spike in our area.
And I'm getting a lot of emails asking the same. They're all. A ton of them asking the same question. Are you going to give any specific dates for potential storms in Fargo this year?
Yes.
Yeah, we will. And Dean just made a good point. This storm, we don't know if it's 50 days or 60 days or 53 days. But once we do, we'll be able to predict when that storm is going to return. The storm in question here that happened on November 20th was a really strong, what we call a 528 decameters above the surface is where this upper level low was at 18,000 feet at 500 millibar level, but it had 3 circles around it and it had a kicking big vigorous storm in the eastern Pacific. These are 2 big features, so the chance of them returning is nearly 100%. So once we know that cycle length, we'll be able to predict when that's going to return. So that's one storm that almost for certain will impact you in each cycle.
And Michael,
but if it's a 60-day cycle, that's only one storm, right?
Michael, can you pull up that last graphic you had that showed the spikes? That one right there, that shows the spikes in the precip that we think right now are going to occur over the next 3 months or so, 4 or 5 months. These are expected to be the spikes in precip over the Corn Belt. So then this is
and Dean, Dean, I want to add to this graphic that if you can see this, the turquoise line is the average line, and each one of the bars is a week. So the week of 12/12, the week of December 16th, and then it started a little bit late. Then the 23rd, the 30th, the 25th. But you can see the 16th of December is forecast to have a big spike. That's when one of your storms would be returning.
All right.
So
3:48. All right, Bridget, are you caught up on your emails? I've got more emails, but these are people asking for specific dates in December.
Right, and that's what I'm getting as well. Is when are we going to see some of those dates come to fruition?
Right, and if you've got specific dates, email me weather@flagfamily.com. Since the cycle is not set yet, once we get this cycle set, which is it's soon. Mm-hmm. Then I can answer those questions with a little more validity. I mean, we can throw a guess out there, but I don't want to do that. Not yet. Let's wait till the cycle is set, and then we can get those questions more solidly answered, if you will.
All right, 701-293-9000, email studio@WDAYradionow.com. All right, you guys, what road are you going down now with weather?
Gary? What
well,
is...
right now, I've got a question for Bridget. I just want to know when you see the weeks that on our model that shows the wet weeks, and as you know, as soon as we get to 2-3 more weeks, we get the cycle, and we look at January and February and March and April, so you go into your planting and growing season. How beneficial is it to know when there's a 3-week stretch that are likely to be dry versus a 3-week stretch that could be fairly wet?
Well, let's look at what we did this year in 2024, where the calendar would tell us it was too soon to start planting corn. We knew that the soil temperatures were still cold. We had a small group of folks that said, I'm going to buck the trend and I'm going to go ahead and plant my corn now, even though it feels early and things don't historically seem like the right conditions. But because they did that, and then the LRC showed us that we were going to have a 3-week span of heavy moisture, they beat that problem. They had their corn in the ground, they got the rainfall, and their corn got done earlier. They didn't have the concerns of waiting until you got closer to harvest and saying, uh-oh, we're running into a problem here. Is this corn going to make it? Are we going to hit black layer? Are we going to hit maturity? And so it really was beneficial for those who decided to take that risk and jump ahead, because they said, I can see some weather coming. I'm going to plant, even though, historically speaking, this would tell me my conditions are not optimal. And it worked. That may not be the case every year, but it certainly did this year.
You know, we'll do our best to make sure we bring that information to help you prepare for that.
Gary,
this year.
There's also a term out there that people ask and hear, atmospheric river. That was happening probably a week, 10 days ago out on the West Coast. Does that ever impact the cycle? Can that make changes happen that you weren't planning for?
Actually not. The atmospheric rivers, when there's a very big storm, especially in the Pacific Ocean, and it has all that swath of water, the huge Pacific Ocean to pick up from, these long fetches of precipitation, rainfall over the ocean is called an atmospheric river. And so if it lines up, if a storm's coming into Seattle and going towards Montana and even towards you in North Dakota, the trailing edge will trend to be back over the Pacific, and it could be over like Central California, the Sierra Nevada mountains, and impact that area with days of rain, when you end up with excessive rainfall and some major flooding. But that's a symptom of what the LRC is able to predict. That happening doesn't change or cause the LRC. It's the other way around.
701-293-9000. Email studio at WDAYradionow.com. 352. Why, Gary, you just brought one of these atmospheric river, and then we hear bomb cyclones and all these scary words. Where did all this stuff come from? Because I swear 10 years ago, you didn't hear all this crazy, it's a bomb cyclone, or it's a polar vortex, or now it's an atmospheric river. Where did all this stuff come from?
Not my favorite terms. I don't like any of them, to be honest with you. I really don't. I mean, it's a strong storm system. A bomb cyclone, they made up a definition that as soon as it drops in pressure at a certain level in less than 1 day, it's called a bomb cyclone. But when I spent 38 years of my career, I didn't say it was a bomb cyclone. I said there's a powerful storm system in the Pacific Ocean, and it's producing a long stretch. Look at this, from Hawaii all the way into California. Yeah, you can call that the Pineapple Express. Now it's called an atmospheric river, but it's just a powerful storm system. So yeah, some of these terms, hype up the weather a little bit, and I don't like them.
A bomb cyclone.
That one.
What's a bomb cyclone? I don't even know what to do. If there was a snowstorm or a blizzard, I would know what to do.
Jay, if it's a bomb cyclone, does that mean you need double the amount of eggs and milk?
In a bomb cyclone?
Right.
Oh, my God. Bomb cyclone. I don't know what to do.
Well, that's why you see that you watch the news, like the legacy media. They're notorious for this, especially one network, and it drives me nuts, too. They'll start out the newscast, 80 million Americans under a severe weather threat. This is like, shut up. Could you just stop with this?
It's a normal day in the winter.
Yeah, 338 million Americans affected by weather.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So, I know when there's a heat wave during the summer, well, it's hot.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be hot during the summer. I mean, come on.
So, Gary, I know we touched on this before, but I got a text message asking what happened to La Niña. all indications from the National Weather Service was we were supposed to have a La Niña winter. What happened and how does this affect our weather? Well, we kind of hit on how it affects our weather in terms of a La Niña opposed to not a La Niña. But what did happen? I mean, all the forecasts were pointing towards at least a weak to moderate La Niña this winter. For people that don't understand or don't know what a La Niña is, can you explain that and try and explain what happened when some of these long-term models that the National Weather Service uses didn't come to fruition in regards to La Niña?
Right. So La Nina and El Nino, they're opposites. El Nino is the warming of the tropical Pacific Ocean, and La Nina is the cooling of the tropical Pacific Ocean down near the equator. And for it to be a La Nina, it will be minus 0.5 degrees, a half degree below average water temperature. So 0 would be average water temperature. So minus 0.5 or lower would start to become a La Nina. But for it to be called a La Nina, it needs to be minus 0.5 or lower for 3 consecutive months and 5 of those 3 consecutive month periods of 5 3-month averages. Okay, if you're into math, you're probably following me. If you're not, you're like, what the heck is he saying? Mm-hmm. So for it to be a La Nina, you need 5 3-month averages, and that is not going to be reached. It's not La Nina now, and here we are almost December. It may just start to get to that criteria in December and January and February, and then just as it does, it's forecast to warm up again. So this is going to be considered a neutral winter. And for the Corn Belt, this is usually a good sign because precipitation patterns in strong La Niñas especially shift towards the Mississippi River Valley east. And look at what has happened. If you look at your screen, if you're able to see this, the Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, Kansas, Nebraska, into Iowa have all had a very wet stretch of weather. And that's a sign La Nina didn't happen, because otherwise that would have been shifted off to the east towards the Tennessee Valley. So hopefully that made some sense.
Let me grab Ross. Ross, you're up on a Jay Thomas Show.
Hi, everybody. First of all, Jay, thanks for the update on Jace.
Mm-hmm.
That was fantastic news.
It is.
Prayers continue, though. He's got a long road.
Thanks, man.
To Mr. Lezak, is it possible, it's probably a dumb question, but is it possible for a cycle to last 365 days?
Well, there is one that does. It's called the annual cycle of the Earth going around the sun. So,
okay, funny man.
So, astronomers are the best forecasters in the world because of that 365-day cycle you're talking about in astronomy, with the Earth going around the sun and the Earth spinning on its axis. And they know these astronomical cycles so well they can predict when there's going to be an eclipse in the year 2100, for crying out loud, right now down to the second.
Yeah.
So they will be right. That's how regular cycles are up there. That's why I think it influences the river of air. It's a river, so our cycle that we're talking about oscillates. But there is some argument that there's a 365-day cycle, because I believe the pattern sets up around October 6th or 7th, and it lasts all the way till the next October 6th or 7th. So there is sort of a 365-day cycle, but then you can cut it into pieces. The cycle that these storms are following are according to the LRC. So if it's a 60-day cycle, then 360 is 60 times 6. So that's almost a 1-year cycle when it's 61-day cycle or so. But this year's cycle, we don't know what that is. So there's something to what you're saying, but there's a smaller subset of those cycles. We call those harmonics.
Okay.
Thanks, Ross. Appreciate the phone call. WDAY time coming up on 4 o'clock. ABC News. We're going to look at local news, weather, and then our last hour of the LRC Winter Outlook Special brought to you by Copperhead Electric, Jiffy Lube, Foltz Buildings, Welton's Tire Service, and North Star Egg. Yes,
so
Mr.
Jay,
Wysocki.
when we come back, Gary, let's kind of go over what you think the winter is going to be for our area in the Northern Plains, and we want you to enter our snowfall contest and get your guess on how much snow we're going to get.
Yeah, can we do some kind of predictions? Because people will not stop messaging me and email. They're driving me nuts.
How much snow we gonna get? How
Well,
much snow we gonna
they
get?
got these specific date things too. And I know the cycle's not set, but
I'll tell you what the LRC model shows coming up next hour.
all right, 4 o'clock, Jay Thomas Show. Hey, Dean, will there be wind tonight? Can you give me that?
We'll be okay tonight
All
for
right,
wind.
I need the hot tub.
Winds ramp up tomorrow.
I need the hot tub, man. Hot tub and Miller J Lifes, buddy.
That's a good night.
Mm-hmm. All right, 10 minutes after 4 o'clock, Jay Thomas Show. It's our annual LRC Winter Outlook. CEO of Weather2020.com and founder of the LRC, Gary Lezak, joins us from Golden, Colorado. Also, Bridget, Readel, Ag Director, in here with us. Dean Wysocki, Chief Meteorologist. And this year's special brought to you by Copperhead Electric, Jiffy Lube, Foltz Buildings, Welton's Tire Service, and North Star Ag. All right, let me grab Jerry here. Jerry, Jay Thomas Show.
Yeah, I've been listening to your broadcast all the way down to Sioux Falls here, and I lost you just south of Brookings. But I know data is important to the LRC, but does snow and blowing snow in Sioux Falls have any effect on the LRC? Would Gary say so?
Well, I'm not
Jerry, the snow and the blowing snow on the roads, that might impact, moisture content and humidity and stuff like that. But the river of air above us that's cycling is about, in the troposphere, is really 10,000 to 30,000 feet above us. And it's got so much energy. It's just much more powerful than a little bit of wind on the ground. It creates that rather than it causes any impact from it.
I guess I'm not understanding. So is the question, the stuff you're experiencing now with the blowing snow, will that cycle back? Was that kind of your question?
Well, I'm wondering if this is the cycle. I mean, like the October snowfall that we had in early October, and now we have snowfall in November, or late November. Is that the cycle?
Is this a recycle of what we had?
It's still
the start of the recycle.
It's still,
because he was saying in the next 10 to 2 weeks he would have more data, but I mean, so just curious.
Right.
Yeah. Dean, like, it's what we have experienced, right? From October 6th or so, let's say it started then, to now, it's November 27th. Mm-hmm. So we've had this 50-day stretch already. What we have experienced now, a couple things to remember also, there was no cold air yet in Canada in the first part of this cycle. And now there is very cold air, and you guys get to experience that up north. And that is now entering into this. So yes, what we just experienced, the weather pattern is going to, that produced all of this, is going to cycle back through, even though I need to wait another week or two, because that allows us to know when and where. Does that make sense, Dean?
Yeah. That makes, yep.
Thanks, Jerry. And by the way, Jerry, the beautiful, fantastic WDAY app, then you don't have that problem of losing us.
I think that's how we got in, because he said he lost us but got back to us, so I like it.
Well, I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. So, Gary, let's touch on. So we do a snowfall forecast contest that Jay does for our listeners. And what'd you say, Jay?
22 inches.
22 inches this year.
Courtesy, by the way, of Kensock's flooring. They are doing another 36-inch Blackstone griddle again this year with all the accessories. Whoever wins this.
And I think what I do 30 to 40 something.
Yeah,
like that?
I got it written down. No, I thought you went. Yeah, maybe you did. Yeah,
40-ish, right around 40-ish. And a lot of that was, I think, based on so far. There's been two key storms. One that was in November 3rd and 4th, where we picked up a half inch of rain, big severe weather outbreak in the southern plains. That was a pretty decent system. And then that 19th and 20th one, which brought us over an inch and a half of rain and 2 to 4 inches of snow and blizzard conditions in the north central part of the state. Those are the two key ones when they cycle back. How will that react in our area? But in fact, the heaviest snowfall axis throughout the northern and central plains, Gary, appears to be just to our south. I think we had it through southeastern parts of South Dakota and up through areas around the Twin Cities, where there was a target area of 70-plus inches of snow possible. At least that's going from what the data that we have now, and that would make sense that the main storm track has been to our south so far during the majority of this first LRC cycle. What are your thoughts on North Dakota winter? How much snow do you think we'll get up here? And temperature-wise, what's kind of on your mind on that?
Yeah, well, based on what has happened in this first cycle, and the second cycle is going to still be important, but that's going to be getting us into winter already. Here's what the model shows. It shows, as you said, the axis of the very heavy snow this season would be around southern Minnesota to western Wisconsin. And there's another secondary area across, right around Fargo. But the amounts that the model is showing so far has your region in a low end range of about, it has 15 inches of snow for the winter in parts of North Dakota.
Thank you.
And
no way.
I know there's no way. But this is what the model, but the model has two different versions. So it's got 15 to 42. And then the other more aggressive version shows 32 around 34.8 in Bismarck and Fargo at 39.3.
That's the aggressive one. It's got Fargo at 39.3.
Yeah, that's not a lot.
Okay, what's the other? What's the unaggressive one have Fargo at?
It has 20.2.
Thank you.
Is that
Thank you very much. I said 22 inches, baby.
And mine's on the more aggressive. I had 38.3.
Yeah.
But even if you got the 38 inches, that's pretty mellow winter
that's still a mellow,
snowfall-wise.
but it's double what we had last year.
So,
Which isn't saying much.
So as we go out west, Bismarck, because we got a lot of listeners that out west. So Bismarck, Dickinson, they're going to get a lot less than we are this year.
This is what the first cycle has shown. Okay. So it's interesting, but yeah, it has less amounts up there, as low as 16.3 in northwestern North Dakota. So we all know that could happen in one storm. This doesn't count April. Should I add April in?
Yeah, throw April there because that can be a crapshoot.
Yeah, because
there are years we get more big April storms than anything.
Exactly.
I'm going to see what these numbers increase. So North Dakota, so Fargo was at 20.2 on this lower one. Okay, now I'm adding in April. Let's see what it does.
Oh, okay.
It's calculating. It's calculating the LRC model.
See, that 19th, 20th storm that hit last week, I'll call that the wild card storm. If that thing whacks us again.
Without snow.
Well, I mean, we need moisture too. But snowfall-wise, I think we're going to be it's going to be later in the season. We're looking at when that comes back around. That'll come back around in first, second week in January. Odds are we're going to be cold enough where that's probably going to be snow.
That's a lot of snow.
That first, second week, that's a lot of snow. I mean, so that's our wild card storm. So watch for that one to come back either that first or second week in January.
I just looked. The adding in April added 6.3 inches. It was like 27 inches of snow.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm still in the
You're still there.
Still in the range.
I'm still saying low 40s.
Whatever.
Low 40s.
April does it. Yeah. We've had out of the last 4 winters, we've had 3 that had pretty big April storms in certain places within the state. That affected us, especially with livestock.
All right, now before we get back to the calls, Justin will be first. Okay, now you got the moisture. What about the temperatures? How cold? We're going to get this wicked.
Well, I mean, like we had in October, we up until the last 10 days, we've had temperatures above normal. Mm-hmm. We've had a couple of cool spells that last a couple of days. But overall, October had a stretch, 7, 8, 9 straight days of above normal temperatures, a couple days below, and then another 6 above normal, 2 below, and then another 6 days above normal. The majority of this first cycle, we've had temperatures at or a little bit above normal. So, I mean, you extrapolate that into January and February, normal highs, you're down into the teens and 20s. Mm-hmm. So maybe we'll be in the 20s to low 30s. So, but when we hit these cold snaps, which we've got this week and last week, those cold snaps are going to be Pretty
brutal.
nasty. Yeah, they're going to be pretty nasty when they do hit. Overall, I think temperatures are going to be pretty close to normal. Gary, and you pipe in here too if you think the same. I think overall between the harsh cold snaps that will last, according to this cycle, at least this one we're in right now is going to end up being close to 12, 14 days before we start to moderate things a little bit. So I'd say we'll be pretty close to average in terms of temperatures and snowfall. I just think we're going to be I don't think we're going to be as low as you're thinking. I think we'll be a little bit below normal in terms of snowfall. And again, this wild card storm, when this comes back in the second week in January, and then that's going to cycle back sometime in, it looks like, second, third week in March, right around there. Those will play a big tail on how much snow we get.
Justin, you're up. Jay Thomas Show.
Yep. Hey, good afternoon, guys.
Hey.
So you've been doing this for quite a while now. Do you have enough data where you can extrapolate this out on like a 5-year average or a 10-year average and say, yeah, in 3 years we think this same storm is going to come back? Or don't you quite have that yet?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, well, good question, Justin. Very good question. The weather pattern is unique each year. However, there's some indication that a small percentage of last year's pattern will be involved in this year's pattern, and an even smaller percentage of the year before that and the year before that. So I think that as we learn more about the LRC, it is a climate model already that predicts a year in advance, but doing a longer range climate model, we may see some of these 5 and 10 and 20 and 30 year trends. So there very well may be some indication there. But of what I've seen, it's like a very small percentage, but there is something that could be developed into a real accurate compared to the climate models 30 years ago. Just so you know, the models 30, 40 years ago were predicting the Earth would be 3 or 4 degrees warmer by now, 5 degrees warmer, even 8 degrees warmer. It's only 1 to 2 degrees warmer. So maybe the LRC model is going to actually be an accurate model sometime in the future.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Justin.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Justin.
the phone call. 701-293-9000. Email studio at WDAYRadio.com.
So for all those asking for specific dates, Jay, or you just forward them to Dean's inbox?
I haven't forwarded any of them yet because I think actually you might be able to do these. I know the cycle isn't complete, but it looks like they're not asking far enough out where you couldn't tell. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And Michael, can we throw that graphic up that Gary sent us?
Check this one out.
That show the spikes in the precip. So
this one is asking traveling from Fargo through the Black Hills down to Fort Collins, Colorado, December 22nd.
And according to what we've got on screen here right now, leaving that we're starting to go into by the 22nd, that drier part of the cycle. So across much of the northern central plains. So again, that's we'll fine tune this over the next week or two. But right now, that's the way it looks. Is going into that 22nd onward, we're starting to see the drier part of the cycle come in here, which lasts until about that second week in January, when we see a spike in precip going into the second, third week of January before things start to tail off in early February. So it's, ebb and flow. Again, we've got the dry part and the wetter part of the cycles coming in here. And again, we'll fine tune this. This is just the first look that we have at it, but we'll fine tune this, as Gary said, over the next couple of weeks when we have the exact cycle.
Because we don't know this. We don't know the cycle length yet. So those weeks that 4-week stretch of dry, that's likely. There's likely going to be a 4-week part of this pattern that is really a dry part of this pattern, and that's going to return. But that still could move by a week or two from what you just saw in that chart, because the cycle length may be longer than the one we have input in there right now. And this product you can see here, this is from our Weather 2020 Vision dashboard. And Bridget and Dean know it very well. This is a valuable tool that I think every farmer should have. And when you put that into your forecasting arsenal, and we have a $2,000 version, which is the world, if you want all of South America, and you can get Brazil's forecast as well. Or if you just want the United States, it's $1,500, and if you just want one state and all the way down to your county, it's $1,200. But we would give a deal right now for Black Friday as well if you guys want that as part of your tool, in that part of your tool chest. But Bridget, this is a good tool to have.
Well, of course. And when you said that about Brazil, the reason folks would be curious, if Brazil has a bad year, that impacts our pricing and can be better for us for moving export-wise. Corn and soybeans.
Lynn is up. Lynn, you're up, Jay Thomas Show.
Okay, quick question. What is the forecast for January 1st? We're flying out of Fargo for the first time to Florida. I just want to make sure our flight will be there.
Well, right now, is it Jan?
Lynn.
Sorry, Lynn. Right now, that's the dry part of our LRC cycle.
Good.
So that would be kind of similar to what we had early part of October.
Now, hold on. Now, Lynn,
roughly.
I got to know where are you going? Where in Florida?
On Fort Myers Beach. We usually drive, and my husband, I'm sure he's listening, at our farm. We farm south of Moorhead, about 20 miles. What he always says, Mother Nature does her thing.
Well, that's true.
Every time.
The global predictor for January 1st, the global predictor has 67 degrees in Fort Myers Beach on January 1st right now. That's what it shows. And warming into the 70s by Friday.
Oh, I watch it all the time.
Okay.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Lynn.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Lynn. Appreciate the phone call. 701-293-9000. Email studio@WDAYradio.com. And then now for forecasting, Dean, if people want specific dates, just email you.
Yeah, shoot me an email, weather@flagfamily.com. And over the next 2 weeks, give us, into that first, maybe the 10th of December or maybe a little later than that, when we have the cycle set, we'll be able to pinpoint the exact dates. We can give a range right now, like I said, the second, third week of January, we're going to start going into a stormy part of the LRC cycle. In December, it looks like that second, third week, mainly end of the first week into the second week, the stormy part of the LRC cycle. So we can give you about a 14-day stretch right now, but once we get the cycle set, that's when we can start to pinpoint the specific dates. Right. We can give you a range right now, which, we go into the very dry part of the LRC cycle. If your travel dates fall during that period, it's a pretty good bet you're good to go. But it's the wet parts of the cycle. That's where, people are going to be concerned, and then we can pinpoint those dates there in about a week or so.
Well, Lynn, I can tell you this. If you're flying down to Florida on Allegiant, weather doesn't matter because they'll fly through anything. That's Alex and I take Allegiant every year, and I'll tell you, we left, what was it, 2 winters ago? I woke up. We had a major blizzard, 4 o'clock in the morning, about snow blowing because it's like, we're getting the hell out of here. I don't care. I can't remember. That was a wicked blizzard. That was in March. It was a March blizzard.
They didn't cancel.
We got to the airport. Like I called the airport. Said, nope, everything's on time. Got to the airport. Yeah, Allegiant. They took off. They cleaned that plane off, and it was funny because one of the students was like, "Yeah, we don't cancel." It's like, so Lynn, if you're flying Allegiant, you're going to be fine no matter what the weather is. They'll rip through anything.
Well, long-term dates, I'm hoping that, if everything goes right, we'll be asking what the weather in Frisco, Texas is on January 6th.
Yeah, I can watch it on my TV. I'm going to need to know some dates later on down the road because we're going to Arizona this year in Las Vegas, so I'll hit you up on those. But I don't know yet what dates we're going. All right, WDAY time 4:30. News, weather, come back. We'll do one more last segment, the LRC Winter Outlook Special, brought to you by Copperhead Electric, Jiffy Lube, Foltz Buildings, Welton's Tire Service, and North Star Ag. More when we come back on 970 WDAY 93.1 FM. Ronnie continuing with his weather-themed bumper music this afternoon.
Love it.
Well, plus it's not technically Friday, but for us it is. So
Yacht Rock Friday, baby.
Yeah.
That's what we do on the Jay Thomas Show.
That just reminds me the wind's going to come up tonight.
What's that?
Just reminds me that the wind is going to come up tonight.
You better come up late. That's all I got to say. Hey, holidays not far around the corner. Actually, they're here. Thanksgiving tomorrow. You probably need a couple bottles of this with the relatives over. North Dakota Sweet Crude. Make it part of the fun, whether you're watching a football game or you're at a family gathering or just hanging out with friends. North Dakota Sweet Crude Orange make gathering a little more fun, or at least more tolerable.
It always helps when relatives are over.
And remember, if you don't know how to drink that stuff, you could go to crudespirits.com and find more recipes.
That's right. Over 60 recipes over there, and they are fantastic. All been tested by Art himself and approved by Art.
Bet they are.
Yeah.
Bet Art was real good at quality control.
Yes, very good at it. Hey, ask for it at your local liquor store, and if you're in Minnesota or South Dakota, you can buy it online, crudespirits.com. All right. With that said, I'm getting a bunch of emails from people asking if they can still get in on the winter snowfall contest I do on my show every year, and I'm just like, all right, damn it. Yeah, I suppose we can do that.
All right, so let's get Gary. So, Gary, I went 42.9 for snowfall total for Fargo. So, Jay's giving away a Blackstone grill.
I'm not. Ken Sock.
Right.
Flooring. Thank you, guys. Every year they jumped in one year and said, hey, we want to be part of this. Can we give away a Blackstone grill? I'm like, yeah. So every year they're like, hey, we're in again. So whoever comes closest to the final snowfall tally for the year, you're going to get a beautiful 36-inch. That's the full-size Blackstone flat-top grill. And Ken Sox, they throw in all the accessories that go with it. It is a great package deal. And the nice thing is you just go pick it right up over at Shields. It's ready for the winter. So we did this last week, and I do it every year. So the cutoff is going to be May 2nd, 12:01 a.m. Or I'm sorry, May
1st, because you're announcing it the second.
May 1st, 12:01 a.m. is the cutoff, and then we'll announce the winner on May 2nd. And you tell us what you think the final tally will be for snowfall, and that's going to be measured where, Dean?
Fargo International.
Fargo International Airport, whatever their final measurement is of the season. Now, remember, we are including the 3.4 inches that fell November 19th and 20th, so make sure you keep that in mind when you're giving your snowfall total. 701-293-9000, or you can email me, studio@WDAYradionow.com. If you want to jump in on this. All right, so what are you predicting there, Gary?
I just did a complete analysis during the break.
Cheating.
And do you remember what the LRC is? The weather pattern is cycling above us. A river of air is cycling regularly. It sets up in October and November. We determine what the number of days is, and then it ends up cycling over and over and over again. Now, the same pattern in July is not going to produce snow, okay? But the same pattern that produces a storm in November, like the 3.4 inches you got, is going to return in each cycle. I just looked, and this first cycle that we are likely still in, this first cycle, I haven't had a clear, definitive start of the second cycle. The first 30 days or so, from October, the beginning of October, all the way to October 29th, there was one storm that passed near Fargo. Okay, one. It was that quiet. That's why it was warm to start the season. That's why it was so dry. There was concern. Oh my gosh, this is going to be a very dry weather pattern. Then it flipped. The second half of this cycle now has had 8 storm systems that crossed near, just north of North Dakota, or just south of North Dakota. 8 different systems in the past 30 days. Okay, in the last 28 days or so. Since October 29th, there have been 8 of them. That's why Minnesota is a target for a lot of snow this winter. And I think that this 8 storms cannot be denied, especially when we get to March and April. Those 8 are going to come through. So maybe you have a very late, very snowy season, but that's what I'm expecting. And I'm predicting Jay will probably head to Florida because we're going to have 57 inches of snow.
Oh, my God. Go home. Oh, you're already home. Goodbye. Yeah. 57 inches?
You can't deny eight storms in each cycle.
Oh, my God. You're killing me, man. Larry, Jay Thomas Show.
Hey, guys. I love your show, Jay.
Thank you.
I'm going to say 48.7.
48.7. Now, you have to be listening on May 2nd, start of the show. That's when I'll announce the winner. And if it's you, call us up and you get yourself a beautiful Blackstone setup, man.
Sounds great, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks, Larry. Appreciate
You
it.
too.
Hey, Tim, you're up. Jay Thomas Show.
Yeah, I think about 26 inches.
26 inches? It's my kind of guy.
Yeah.
All right, Tim, you're in the run. You're in the running, brother. Appreciate it, man. I'm telling you, 57 inches.
Do you draw a line
Go have
somewhere?
another cocktail.
Do you draw a line in there somewhere and just say, these are the people that like to blow snow and these are the people that don't want to blow snow?
Well, and I'm feeling more confident about my prediction because my snowblower is currently at my neighbor's house getting completely refurbished.
I didn't know you live next to John.
No,
Yeah, right.
no, thank God. I don't. My God, could you imagine? I'd be out there measuring my grass.
Does everyone have a snowblower in North Dakota?
Most
If you're
smart people
if
do.
you're smart,
yeah.
you do.
Yeah, exactly.
We hand them out with birth certificates at the hospital.
or you have kids. It's one or the other. Snowblower or kids.
Right.
You give Bridget a rim shot on that one. That was a good one. Hey, Bruce, you're up. Jay Thomas Show.
Oh, since I didn't win the corn contest, my brother outguessed me and won that. I am going to guess 49.7.
49.7 inches. All right, we'll announce the winner May 2nd on this program, Bruce.
I am hoping for 4 inches, though.
Well, we've already got that. So
Yeah, we haven't got 3.4. So.
I like the spirit of competition in their family because his brother did jump in on the corn, the Here We Grow contest with our corn.
And what did he
bushels.
win?
We had a grain gauge from IntelliFarms in Castleton, and we also had some of our WDAY rain gauges from Productive Alternatives in Fergus Falls.
There you go. Well, Bruce, maybe you'll win this one, buddy. You can one up your brother. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. David, you're up. Jay Thomas Show.
Hey, I'm guessing 22 3/4 inches.
22 3/4 inch. I love it, man. I love it. See, Gary, people are more with me, pal, than they are with
22.75.
with your ridiculous 57.
I like last year.
Say exactly. So did I.
That's going to be a nice winner.
I hope so. Thanks, David.
I
Appreciate
went
it.
low last year. I went 30 inches last year.
Did you go 30 last year?
I think you guys convinced me to go higher, so I think I went 35. But I still went low.
Hey, let's see who's next. Mary, you're up. Jay Thomas Show.
Yes, my guess is 44.4.
44.4. Playing the fours this afternoon. Mary, I got you. You're in the running. We'll find out. Gordon, you're up. Jay Thomas Show.
34.2.
34.2. Boy, you people, I'm liking this. I'm not getting some outrageous numbers like Gary tossed at us. Thanks, Gordon. Appreciate it.
I sure said 57.2.
Oh, good Lord. Gary, you're up on a Jay Thomas Show. Gary, go ahead.
I'm going to say 61 inches.
Oh, my God.
There you go. There you go. You're going to win, Gary. Gary.
If we panned the camera over, is there another Gary sitting in there with you, Gary? Thanks, Gary. Here
Rainbows in the background.
Hey, Justin, you're up. Jay Thomas Show.
Hey, Jay, I'm going to go with 54.7.
54.7. What's the initial of your last name, Justin?
D is in dog.
D is in dog. 54.7. You are a dog. 54 inches. Come on, man. All right. You're in the running, brother. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Hey, Tom, you're up. Jay Thomas Show.
25.5, so 25 and a half.
Atta boy,
No.
25.5. I'm telling you, you all laughed at us last year. You all laughed at us.
Like Gary said, and Gary's got.
Thanks, Tom.
Now, keep in mind, in those eight storms that have come through here, we've picked up right around 2.5 inches of rain, or I'm sorry, 2.5 inches of liquid.
Okay.
During
Liquid,
during that wet cycle. Yeah. So we're not saying it's all going to fall as snow, but each cycle, if you're using a 10-to-1 ratio, if it all fell as snow, that's 48 inches just in the next 2 cycles. If it all fell as snow,
add in a third cycle,
and then you got the third cycle. So
let's just suck up to him a little bit more, Wysocki.
So maybe we should go up to 73 inches.
Well, go ahead, do it, funny man. We're getting a lot of off-air calls. We're getting a lot of calls off-air. People, I want it's weather2020.com/WDAY, correct, Gary, for that Black Friday discount?
It's the BFD.
the big forecast deal. There you go.
I gotta be careful.
You almost slipped, didn't you?
The big forecast deal is 50% off, and you will get to learn about the LRC in the next year you'll get an email of this it'll come right to your inbox every week when I post it, and some of the graphics, and we'll talk about it. I'll keep track of the snowfall forecast for North Dakota on there. Yeah. But just go on there and get the BFD big forecast deal. Weather2020.com/WDAY.
All right, Larry, give me your big snow forecast. What do you got, buddy?
Well, I think she's going to go about 32.2.
32 I can live with that. 32.2. I got you, Larry. Thanks, brother. Betty, Jay Thomas Show.
28.7.
28.7. Awesome. You're in the running. Thanks, Betty. Look at all these people that are going in the 20s, man.
You're setting a trend.
I am setting a trend. I like this trend. Terry, you're up. Jay Thomas Show.
Gary made me cry.
Oh.
He does that to people.
I'll tell you, when I heard that 50, something like, come on, man.
I know.
So I'm going to go.
There's eight storms.
50. I'm going to go 56.
Okay. All right.
You're going under.
He's undercutting by an inch.
You're making me cry. Terry, you're in the running, brother. Appreciate it. Craig, you're up. Jay Thomas Show.
First of all, Gary, did you ever think in a million years that nobody would have got a 3-inch snow last year?
No.
Yeah, we did not have 1 3-inch snowfall here last
in
winter.
a 24-hour calendar.
Yep.
What was the biggest snow?
2.7. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
No.
No, I did not know that. That is incredible.
Yeah, it was
all the more reason to go over this year.
Oh, here it comes. All right.
Yeah, all those 50 inches and over brought to you by Serrata Beach Resort.
That's exactly. No, you know what? Stay away from Serrata Resort. That's our hangout, man. Go somewhere else.
Oh, way to announce it so they're all making reservations.
He just did.
Well, you didn't have to say it was your resort.
We'll go to Clearwater. Craig, what's your guess?
Okay, Bones, my guess is 32.75.
32.75. I got you down. Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it, brother. Dan, Jay Thomas Show.
Hey, Jay, I'm going to go with 34 inches.
34 on the money. I like that. I can live with that, man. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. 701-293-9000. Wade, you're up. Jay Thomas Show.
47 after our 47th president.
Oh, look at you. Well played, buddy.
That snowfall is going to be huge.
So if I were you, I would have went 45.47 inches. That's what I wanted to. But that's me. How about
that is so good.
Get you some of that, man. All right, Wade, you're in the running, brother. Appreciate it. Craig, you're up. Jay Thomas Show.
I'm going to say 60 as the big 6-0.
All right, you can go away now. Thanks. Yeah, you're in the running, buddy. Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it. All right, we're caught up. That's it. We're done.
Let's go over. So the stormy part of the LRC cycle, the way it looks right now. So you can mark this down in your calendar. Early December through about the 16th. Or 16th, 17th. That's one stormy part of the LRC cycle. Then we start drying out after Christmas. We go into the dry part of the cycle, okay? Mm-hmm. And then starting about the 15th or 16th of January through about the 27th, that'll be another part of the stormy part of the LRC cycle. Then we start drying out after about February 3rd. And then
Groundhog Day,
right? And then we start to increase our precip after March 4th, and then another part of the stormy cycle through March about 17th.
All right.
So those are your 3 parts of your stormy LRC cycle. And again, over the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to pinpoint those exact days during the stormy part of the cycle down for you.
Guys, got to go. It's been a pleasure as always, Gary. I'll chat with you. And we'll do this all over again sometime in March. Again, thank you, Copperhead Electric,
Thank
Jiffy
you.
Lube, Foltz Buildings, Welton's Tire Service, and North Star Ag. We got to rock and roll. Bridget, thank you.
Thanks, Jay.
Dean, thank you. Gary, again, thank you. All right, folks, have a fun, and listen, man, don't talk politics. Don't talk politics tomorrow.
Not during Thanksgiving.
Unless everybody in the family is on the same page. Otherwise,
that's
stay away from it.
That's usually not the case.
Stay away from it, man. I just don't do that to your family. But
just ask them how the weather is.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody. Gobble, gobble, gobble.
Happy Thanksgiving, Gary.
And we'll talk to you on Monday. Your news is next.